You are listening to your new Puppies podcast, starting you and your dog off on the right paw. Here's your host, Debbie Salento.
Hello and welcome. I'm Debbie, and you are listening to episode 13 of your new Puppies podcast. Today, we're going to talk about dog parks and dog daycares, and we're going to look at the differences between them because they're both places for your dog to go play off leash with other dogs and get really tired out. But your dog's experience and your experience are vastly different between the two. So there's some pros and cons to each, especially if you have a new puppy. So first, I want to just define what I'm talking about when I say dog park and daycare. This might seem obvious, but just bear with me because I want to make sure that we're on the same page. So when I say a dog daycare, it's usually a facility privately owned, where you drop off your dog. Maybe it's for a couple hours, maybe it's for the day, and most of them will even take your dog overnight. And it's open play, off leash. They get to play with other dogs. Usually they have them separated by size, some even by temperament. And then there's break times worked in, right? And so there's just a couple employees monitoring everything. A dog park is usually an outdoor place. It's a park within a park. So it's a fenced off area of a public park for the dogs to play off leash. It's maintained usually by, whoever maintains the main park. So whether it's the county, the town, the state, so some kind of government entity maintains the park. And it's not really supervised. Usually there's a list of rules outside the park. It's a public domain, so really anybody can use it as long as they're abiding by the rules. And it's kind of self-monitored. A big draw to dog parks is that they're free or they're close to it. I know around me, there's some towns that are popping up with semi-private dog parks where it's like a $10 fee for the year just so they can have a little bit more control over, the dogs are vaccinated and they're tagged and the park doesn't get overcrowded, things like that. But it's usually a minimal fee if there even is one. And it's super convenient. You can go to the park, stop in the dog park for 10 minutes, stop there for an hour. It's a place to watch your dogs play with other dogs. Or daycare, it costs money. I know by me, I'm in North Jersey and they're all over the place and they can cost anywhere from $20 for a few hours to $40 plus for a whole day. So it really depends on the facility. And yes, it can get pricey if you're going there on a regular basis. And you also leave your dog there. So sure, you might not be able to get to watch your dog play and actually interact, but you also get a break, especially if you have a young puppy. Sometimes it's nice to be able to know that he's occupied for a few hours, getting tired, and then you can go to work, go run some errands, go take a nap, whatever you feel like. So that is really that can be a huge advantage. So the biggest difference between the two is what I really want to talk about, and that's your dog's socialization and safety. So right off, I'm going to tell you that if your goal is to socialize your dog, if you have a puppy that you're trying to socialize, then you should not go to a dog park. You should avoid the dog park at all costs. If you're looking to socialize your puppy with a large group of dogs, then a daycare is the way to go. And I'm going to explain why. There's a few reasons. So if you're looking to socialize your puppy, you want to make sure, and I'm talking about we're exclusively talking about dog socialization here, just so we're clear. So you want to make sure you're doing it with other well-socialized dogs. So other dogs who know how to play appropriately, who are going to teach them good habits. On the other hand, you don't want dogs that are going to teach them bad habits. And with dog parks, even though we've already talked about how they're free and that can be nice, when things are free, you never know who's going to show up, right? You don't know how responsible this owner is with their dog's behavior, even with their health, their vaccines, you don't know. And even if they are a responsible owner, they might not know. They might not understand that their dog is playing inappropriately. Sure, they might not be aggressive. Sure, they might not be causing fights or starting fights, but that doesn't mean that they're behaving appropriately. For example, I've actually had to fire a couple clients when I used to do daycare all the time at my home. And it wasn't because they would start fights. It's because they would cause fights. And the difference is that this dog wanted to play, but maybe he was a little overzealous, didn't know when to stop. When the other dogs were telling him to stop, he wouldn't stop because he just didn't know. And he was a big dog, obviously not socialized as a puppy when they're smaller and they can be a little bit more controlled by the other dogs. He was a big, strong dog, and he would jump all over the other dogs and not know when to stop. And that would cause other dogs to have to, because they felt the need to, be a little bit more firm in their correction, if you know what I mean. So, and at the time I just didn't have the resources to teach this dog how to play properly and be able to monitor all my other dogs. So unfortunately, he just wasn't an appropriate fit for here. Now you're going to have those type of dogs at dog parks because, like I said, the owners just might not know or they might not care. And especially when you're socializing your dog as a puppy, you want all their experiences to be really good. Now, on the flip side, a daycare, a facility, a business is going to be very careful and very picky and have full control over the dogs that are going to be there. So they all of them are going to temperament test them. They're going to make sure that they're healthy, whether they have their vaccines, their titers, or, just a clean bill of health from the vet. They're going to closely monitor that. And they're going to make sure that all the dogs there are acting appropriately. And they can remove any dogs that aren't. That also brings me to the actual people involved. In a daycare, you have just a couple employees who are trained to know what appropriate dog play is. And they can stop inappropriate play and they let regular play go. They monitor each individual dog. If a dog is for some reason uncomfortable or not having any fun, they're going to recognize that and remove that dog so he's not overwhelmed and has a bad experience. On the other hand, in dog parks, you could have 10 different owners with 10 different dogs, and each owner, because of their own experience or lack of experience, they're going to have a different idea of what appropriate dog play is. Now, if you've never seen two dogs play, and I run into this a lot with my first-time dog owners, if you've never seen two dogs play, it can be a little crazy. And you can get a little nervous because some dogs play really rough. So you can have, owners jumping in and breaking up play that's completely appropriate, which might not necessarily be a bad thing, but it can be frustrating and confusing to a dog. So if, dog's like, this is the way I play all the time, or this is my buddy, I've always played with him, and now I'm being told that I shouldn't play with him that way, that can be very confusing to them. And that's why if they're a puppy and they're just starting to learn, you need to stay away from that kind of situation. Or even worse, you have an owner whose dog is acting inappropriately, is bullying the other dogs around, and they're sitting there texting on their phone and not even paying attention. So it really makes a difference for your dog's experience, for your experience, for their safety, that you only have one or two trained individuals monitoring the pack instead of 10 half-trained individuals trying to monitor the pack and creating their own rules and deciding what's appropriate. I also touched on this a moment ago, is that you also don't know what these dogs' health are like. Who knows? You might not, maybe there's one dog who hasn't been to the vet in 3 years or was coughing yesterday and, the owner just doesn't know better. Like I said, it's not necessarily that people don't care. A lot of times what I find, it's more that people just don't know. I always considered myself somebody who knew dog behavior and dog training a little bit better than the average person until I actually went through my dog trainer training and I realized how much I didn't know and how much that I did know was wrong. So even those with the best intentions, it still might be a compromise to your dog's safety and socialization and training. Okay, so what do we take out of all of this? If your goal is to socialize your puppy, if you're socializing your dog, you want them to get used to other dogs, then a dog park is not the place to go. You want to go to a daycare. Now, I know that they cost money and they can get pricey. So an alternative to it is to find other dogs that you know, owners that you personally know, that you know that their dogs are well behaved and well socialized themselves. And you do those individual puppy dates. Maybe you can get 2 or 3 people around so you can get some pack play in. But if you can, a daycare is a fantastic place for your dog to get used to all different sizes and types and play styles. A daycare is a great, great place for that. Now, if you already have a really well socialized dog, they've already had lots of experience with other dogs. So, your dog has to be 6 months, a year, like maybe even beyond that, and have a lot of experience with other dogs, then maybe a dog park can be an okay idea. But again, with anything that's free, you're going to just have to use more caution. There's more risk to it. So it's a little bit more work on your part. Some good options are to maybe go at off times, like not, Saturday early afternoon, maybe after work or during the day, during the week. I know that's not possible for everybody, but you try to find an off time. And if you go the same time, like every week or even every day, you're going to find the same people there. And maybe you find a group that you're very comfortable with and you trust the owners and you trust the dogs. And you want to make sure that your dog is also healthy because you're not sure what state everybody's dog in. There's nobody checking them at the gate. And if anything is happening that you feel uncomfortable with at all, then it's time to go. I don't care how much fun your dog is having. If you are uncomfortable with any dog, any play, any person, then it's time to go and try it another day. But again, this is already if your dog has had really, really good experiences with other dogs. Now, of course, everything I've said goes on the assumption that it's a well-run, well-trained, and clean daycare facility. Just like with any company, any facility, not all daycares are created equal. So next week, I'm actually going to talk about all your options on where you can bring your dog when you are away. So it's going to talk about daycare facilities, boarding, pet sitters, all of that. And within that episode, I'm going to give you a questionnaire that you can call all these different places, including daycares, and what questions to ask so you can find the best place for you. So until then, you can ask me any questions you have. I would love it if you would head over to the show notes. It's playtimepause.com/episode 13. So that's playtimepause.com/episode 13. And you can ask me any questions in the comments. You can tell me any of your stories or your experience with daycares. And I'll see you over there. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to your New Puppies podcast. Learn more about us at playtimepause.com.